With 40,000 wins, 170,000 final kills, and 2,800 stars and counting, is one of the, if not the best BEDWARS player, Manhal IQ. And along with that massive grinding, there's a lot to notice in his playstyle and gameplay. So I have taken a deep dive into Manhal's gameplay and analyzed his content so that in today's video, I can give tips and tricks so that you can gain more wins. The first few tips I'm going to be giving are mainly on PvP, but the first one is to strafe while in combat. You mainly hear this term in FPS games, but the reason why people do it is so that it's harder for your opponent to follow them with their aim, which is also very crucial. So, to strafe, use either the keys W and D or the keys W and A so that you move forward and at the same time side to side. You see this a lot from Manhal through his keystrokes, and it allows him to get hit less often and not get comboed. So, just circle your opponent and follow them with your aim, which is a little harder than holding W. So don't worry about mastering it first try, since like all of these tips, practice makes perfect. Another thing you can do when strafing is switching between the A and D keys. This will make your movement a lot more unpredictable and will make it harder for your opponent to track you. The next tip I can give is to practice your block placement while in PvP, especially through a method called block trapping. This is when you place a block right in front of your opponent so that it stops their movement. Since I said in the previous tip that strafing and your movement is very important, stopping your opponent's movement is just as important as well. So to do this, just switch to your blocks and place it right in front of your opponent, and then switch back to your sword and attack. Make sure while doing this that you place the blocks away from you, because you don't want to ruin your movement as well. By simply just placing a few blocks in front of them, it'll allow you to get combos a lot more easier. There are a lot of ways you can use block placement used by Manhal, like you can block trap to help combo, you can trap to run away if you're low on health, but one of the bigger uses is to block trap on bridges, which is arguably the most efficient way to block trap. The reason why is because bridges are one block wide, so basically if you place a block right in front of them, they can't use their A and D keys to go around the block. So they are completely stuck and you can easily hit them into the void. So the best time to block trap is when you have the high ground and they don't, yet this still works if you are on the same level of ground. If you're on the same level of ground, just place 2 blocks upwards so they can't go forward, and then place a block on the side to go around and hit them off. This is a little tricky, so you'll have to try to practice going around the pillar using blocks. It is very difficult to counter this, but if this does end up happening to you, you can try to hit them first and try to block clutch or run away and block clutch if they hit you. So it's very unlikely you live, but hey, at least you can try. But if you do have the high ground, all you have to do is place a block right in front of them so they can't keep going up, and you can hit them off easily. This literally will kill everyone, except for that one dude with 3,000 ping and just won't take KB for any reason. But if this does happen to you, to counter it, try to place a block over your head so they can't hit you from above, or try to hit them off before they can. And like I said, always be ready to block clutch. Speaking of block clutching, the next tip is to manage your hotbar through your shop so there's a permanent spot for your blocks. Instead of your blocks going into the next open spot, just click the little blaze powder in the corner of the item shop so you always know what hotbar slot your blocks are in. But why is this so important? The reason why is because of the next tip, and that is to hotkey your blocks. Manhal can't block clutch by using the scroll wheel, and I don't think anyone can unless you're just built different. So if you want to block clutch or do block placement, make sure to hotkey at least your blocks with an easily accessible key that isn't being used, like F, R, etc. I don't hotkey the sword since the one key is pretty accessible, but you can if you want. But like I said, if you have your block set to like slot 9, you don't want to be reaching all the way to your 9 key if you want to block clutch. Block clutching and trapping is near impossible to do without hotkeying, so even though it is difficult to see Manhal doing this because he doesn't show his keyboard, that is how he can do these skills efficiently. So in order to do this, just go to the Minecraft settings and head to controls, and then you can keybind any of the hotbar slots to the key you prefer. The next tip is very self-explanatory, and that is just to buy golden apples and fireballs whenever you can. You can see Manhal use these items so much in his gameplay, and it helps him break beds easier, win fights, and so much more. So even though saving iron and gold in your ender chest is important, if you're at an island with a lot of resources, go ahead and buy 1 or 2 apples and maybe a fireball, because they can come super handy. Golden apples can be used to ensure you win in fights since you get extra regeneration in hearts, and you can also use it to regenerate if you're low on hearts, and you can even do it mid-battle if you can run away safely. But the next tip I'm going to be telling you through watching Manhal is to use the fireballs in many different ways. If you thought that the only use for fireballs is to hit people on bridges, you are wrong, because there are so many uses that aren't being used enough. Though sniping people is very important with fireballs, an underrated use that is slowly being used more often is fireball jumping, which can be used when someone has the high ground and you don't. That way you can surprise them with the jump and hit them off. Another way to use fireballs is to break several layers of a bed defense. If they have a hot dog bed defense or any 2-layer bed defense without endstone or wool, you can break through it easily and get the bed. When you buy fireballs and use them to your potential, you will soon realize how overpowered and broken its versatility is. The next tip doesn't require much explaining, and that is just to simply bridge up when speed bridging. And you heard that right, speed bridging. Along with bridging up, speed bridging helps you have the time advantage over your opponent. If you don't speed bridge, you are at a huge disadvantage. But like I was saying, when bridging, go up every 4 to 6 blocks and never flat bridge. Now, this next tip is arguably the most important and crucial tip in this video, and that is to pay attention to your surroundings so you can make better and quicker decisions. You can even hear Manhal's decision making in this clip here.
Seems like these two are having a huge fight, and here red is gone already, so gray might actually go for me, but he doesn't have a bed. I think I should be fine because I have sharp.
You can see in the video that he ends up going for the two teams fighting instead of gray because he is paying attention to the scoreboard and the chat. These are very important to watch out for so you know who is fighting who and what your opponents are doing. He ends up deciding that he should go for the two people fighting because gray doesn't have a bed, which ended up being the right move. Manhal could have honestly just waited for the two teams that are fighting to battle and get stacked, but it ended up paying off since he was able to take out both teams. So in summary from this clip, you should pay attention to the chat and the scoreboard. You should go for the teams that are most likely to rush you next, which will allow you to keep your bed. The people that are most likely to rush you next are going to be people with beds and just beat their first rush. Here's another decision that Manhal IQ makes.
Oh, that is not bad. That is bad, I mean. Aqua is going middle. I need to go kill the Aqua guy because he's getting a lot of emeralds and that is not good at all.
You notice that he is paying attention to his surrounding and sees that Aqua is going for emeralds. Since emeralds are really overpowered, which I will be explaining why later in this video, he realizes that he has to beat his first rush and then go for Aqua next. So in recap, another decision that you should make is to pay attention who's getting stacked and who isn't, and you should try to make sure that no one gets really overpowered gear. One other decision that you can make is to watch out for who's really good and who isn't. Of course, there could be people nicked, so it's a little difficult, but it'll help you out a lot if you can take out the sweatiest gamers beforehand. So to find this out, there are a few methods. You can use the Lunar Clamp mod that allows you to see people's high pixel level. You can also watch the chat for people that beat their first rushes very quickly and which team is destroying the most beds. You can also watch chat to see people that have their bed counter or kill counter on, and if they have a ridiculous number, they should be a target. The final method is if someone talks in chat and you can see their BEDWARS level, watch out for people with ridiculous numbers of stars. But like I said, there are flaws with these methods. There could be people with low star counts that are still really sweaty, so be careful of that and make sure to use all of these methods to find out who to target and who to rush. The next tip I can give is to learn to clutch, because several times you will lose your bed before winning. So if you still want to win, make sure to stay calm. This is actually pretty important because I assure you, you will get a lot more nervous when you lose your bed. So to make sure you don't get too nervous or excited, make sure to take deep breaths to stay calm or listen to chill music, because if you are too nervous, you can make a lot of silly mistakes which can cost you the game. But more importantly, what should you do in game if you lose your bed? First off, don't initiate combat unless necessary or you're very confident, because letting others do the fighting is probably the better option. But second, get as stacked as possible, and more importantly, go for emeralds and diamonds. You don't want to be that one person without any prot or sharp at the final battle, so make sure to get those beforehand. And for emeralds, you can use invis and jump potions to get beds without being noticed or to surprise attack your enemies. Ender pearls can also be very useful, as well as a diamond sword. Even Manhal says this.
Diamond sword? Bro, this guy knows the strats.
So the options are up to you, but you want to make sure you have those if you want to win without your bed. So there are my 10 tips that I got from watching Manhal, and I want to give lots of credit to Manhal for his footage. If this video helps you, consider liking and commenting that it helped. Thank you all for watching, and without further ado, peace.